Welcome to the Vinsmoke Benji channel. My name is Benji, and today we'll be talking about my brutally honest review of the Wano Kuni arc in One Piece. And I have a plethora of things to discuss, but before I go ahead and do that, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. This will be a channel that's dedicated to the side of Geek Giant. I'll be making a plethora of One Piece videos as well as other anime and manga videos that I feel very passionate about on this very channel. And I do want to go ahead and say that I really appreciate the love that was given on the last video, the chapter review. I'll be doing those every week on this channel. But no more wasting your time, let's go ahead and begin with my review of the Wano Kuni arc. Here we go. So if you're not aware, the longest arc in One Piece recently ended, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt this arc in particular was an emotional roller coaster. With dramatic highs and tumultuous lows, the Wano arc in One Piece definitely has become one of the quintessential arcs within all of the series. And this is rightfully so, since the lead up to this very arc has happened all the way back in Punk Hazard. This arc has been a long time coming. And I wouldn't even say technically Punk Hazard, I would say technically all the way back in Thriller Bark pre-time skip, once we got the introduction of the sword god Ryuma and Zoro. But with this being said, I like to consider everything that Wano has to offer, the good and the bad. And for pretense, this is all my opinion, so please don't get mad at me in the comments. Please, I want you to like me. Yeah. And also, feel free to go ahead and give your opinions in the comments down below, whether you disagree with any of my points or you agree with my points. I would love to have the discussion. I'm very much open to any kind of discussion. But starting off, I want to kind of attribute the things that made Wano such an incredible arc to myself. And it was an ability to create this sense of hope thoroughly from the beginning to the end of the Wano arc. We are met with elements of despair and grief in a way of feeling hopeless, yet later shifting that focus to gradual hope. And giving off this curiosity of what is going to happen next. Will this actually work? Even starting the arc, we are instantly given how docile current Wano is, and how famine is a regular thing amongst the citizens of Wano. And if that doesn't give you an idea of how bad the situation in Wano was, the first introduction to one of the strongest characters within One Piece may do it for you. Seeing Luffy recklessly, but it aligns with his character, attempt to clash with Kaido. And mind you, this is following his epic battle with Katakuri in the previous arc, Whole Cake Island. And Luffy has definitely come a long way, but to see Luffy get completely obliterated by Kaido in one fell swoop shows how far Luffy is, as well as the Straw Hats are from their goals, and how nearly impossible this mission in Wano is truly going to be. Yet we soon realize that little by little hope is starting to blossom. The activities of each of the Straw Hats developing themselves and awaiting Luffy's return from the prison that he became captive after he lost to Kaido. The unionization of the Scabbards and their renegade army that seemed very underwhelming in number compared to Kaido's, yet sheer willpower and determination made this team as formidable as they can be. And the balancing act of failure and success were teetering constantly throughout the weekly reads, making the read that much more enjoyable because you had no idea if Luffy and the gang was going to pull it off. And I'm pretty sure that's why there were so many theories debating whether or not the raid was truly going to fail within Wano. Now the Straw Hats I wasn't particularly worried about. It really seemed like they were going to win their battles. But I will say the one Straw Hat that I was a little bit scared for was Zoro. I mean, he was getting his ass beat before he went crazy. So, you know, there's that. No disrespect, of course. But in retrospect, made Wano incredibly entertaining until we reached the finale and the raid actually becoming successful. And yet another thing that made Wano such a one-of-a-kind arc was the build-up step-by-step storyline that led the major plot threads for not only Wano but for the future of One Piece. The friction of both the Kozuki and the Korizumi clans, what originally happened 20 years ago, Oden's storyline. Wano truly shines its best in its setup for the future as well as within its own arc. Oda's strategic way of using small hints and context clues that ultimately lead to big payoffs for the series. And it's something that One Piece fans actively look forward to and praise Oda for consistently doing. From Kaido and his way of thinking, or looking at all of the possibilities of Zoro and his direct ties apparently to the Shimotsuki, or even the hint at a certain masked man being the father of Odin. Ichiro Oda has always created larger than life possibilities for what is to take place within his story. And this is what makes One Piece and its community such a very intensive series, and I absolutely love it. Even the ZKK theories. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you guys remember those, right? And another point would be the incredible moments that we were given within the Wano Kuni arc. Moments like the trial of Yasu, which has to be undoubtedly one of the saddest moments within Wano, or you could actually make an argument for One Piece. Seeing how the death of a former daimyo whose identity was kept secret until just the right moment, and one of Wano's most powerful moments. And to add insult to injury, the elements of adding the smile fruits in this very moment as well. Having a crowd who is so desperately wants to express sadness for their former daimyo, yet due to the effects of the smile fruits, they are unwittingly forced to smile uncontrollably while Yasu is killed. And this moment just adds more and more despair to an already grim situation. And in a way, it's kind of similar to Odin's execution. Yet in this element, it's a little bit more dreadful seeing that people are smiling and they have no control over their autonomy. Oda loves to use a lot of parallels within his way of writing. But continuing with moments, characters specifically in Wano shine the brightest during this arc, and I feel like it's one of the reasons why the One Piece community at times were fighting or celebrating if their favorite character was shining. And I can say for myself, I was one of those people. Sanji the GOAT was given yet another arc showcasing his dreadful past and showed maturity of his previous inability to count on his crewmates and not place the burden on himself the same way that he did in Whole Cake Island. And this is actually funny considering I believe Oda said that Sanji wasn't going to get too many moments after Whole Cake Island. And if we're going to be honest, I feel like some of Sanji's best moments come out of Wano. And then we move on to Zoro, who I will admit I'm secretly a little bit of a fan of. I do like me some Zoro. And Zoro truly came through this arc showing how much closer he is to truly becoming the world's strongest swordsman. He truly made his mark and could be considered a true MVP of the Wano Kuni arc. But then we move on to Luffy, the best boy himself, who was able to face defeat early from Kaido early on in this arc, yet was able to use that moment for motivation. Training vigorously within the Udon prison and learning from Master Hirogoro the ways of Ryu. And it seems like Ryu will play huge dividends for the final battles coming very soon in the final arc of One Piece. And let's not forget one of the most important moments within One Piece, one of the most hypest moments within One Piece, the introduction to Gear 5th and the reveal of Luffy's true fruit, the mythical zone model Nika. Such an impressive moment and callbacks to the drums of liberation and Joy Boy served to us in such a beautiful way. But honestly, I can go on and on about who I thought was dope this arc. Kaido and his bottomless bag. Side note, I do think that Kaido is still stronger than Luffy, but you gotta consider that Kaido really got jumped by a whole bunch of niggas, so there's that. Yamato, who I love for her personality and strength, but I did wish she dropped the whole Odin, act. But I digress. Oh, and speaking of Odin, who had one of the most immersive backstories of his legendary life, but how he was essential to Roger and his crew finding the One Piece. Momo, Kinemon, and even my girl, Robin. I can't wait to see that fight in particular animated. You know what I'm talking about, manga fans. The list goes on and on. Oda truly one of those dedicated character moments to truly move the readers. But with all of the good things that happen within the Wano Kuni arc comes the considerable lacking that happened in Wano as well. And for pretense, I believe it stems from Oda in certain areas probably biting off more than he can chew. To the point where I believe very engaging plot threads that Oda introduces or hints at weren't able to reach their full potential. Now, please don't get me wrong, I believe that Oda is a genius in every single aspect of One Piece, but I do believe in certain parts of Wano, particularly the final arc, I believe that maybe he had been rushed, which is crazy to really think about, especially since Wano is long as But for example, I sung the praises of Zoro before, but taking away his epic action segments, I was truly hoping that Zoro came to terms with more of his Shimotsuki lineage that had been hinted at numerous times before in Acts 1 and 2. Now granted, this could be something that Oda actually touches on for the epic fight between Mihawk and Zoro a little bit later on, but even the brief details of the former daimyo who was once named the One-Eyed Samurai never was touched further upon its introduction. Like, damn, like, you give us something and you ain't gonna give us more? Like, this is Zoro. And not only that, the fact that Zoro actually wanted to go ahead and visit Ryuma's gravesite, and we never got that moment within the context of Wano, especially after returning Shisui to his rightful home. And now I will say that Oda has been known to put those little bit of flashbacks a little bit later on, but why?
Why? Why?
I don't see why not put Zoro visiting Ryuma's gravesite in Wano. And it should definitely be included in Wano, especially since it's pretty integral to the Wano Kuni story. Coming full circle from the first time we were even introduced to Wano as a country, with Ryuma. Also moving on, the absence of emotion in death seemed kinda off. Especially Aizo, a real one through and through. And death is something that I felt was played a huge role in the story, especially with what was represented to Kaido. Also, one more thing, there's absolutely no way that Kinemon should be walking as a living man in Wano. He got hit point blank by Kaido. Like come on, son. Like, come on, Oda, come on. But I do love Kinemon, so there's that. But this is also another case where I believe that Oda may have had intended for Kinemon to go ahead and perish, yet maybe his editor swayed him a different way. Now, I'm not going to 100% say that because I don't know, and Oda is his own man. But I think my major disappointment was the handling of Kaido's backstory, which I feel like a lot of One Piece fans can agree with me on. Like, this was it? Like, this is it. Kaido has always been a massive importance to the story, and dialogue reflects that. But I don't think anybody can truly say that they got what they needed from Kaido and his character. Kaido remains a mysterious figure whose infatuation on death and suffering wasn't necessarily elaborated on. Now, I will say this, it doesn't kill his character at all. I really did enjoy Kaido and Wano. But you kind of get this looming feeling that something was obviously missing from one of the most interesting characters within Wano. But other things that I disliked were the multitude of fake out deaths within Wano, the seemingly circle of hate being reestablished by Hiyori, who might be a racist, the shameful introduction to a hype Admiral Green Bull, the Sheikh's cameo, which was basically fronting as a movie promotion, which I didn't necessarily dislike, but you didn't have to put it in there. And there's a bunch more list of flaws and nitpicks that I could say about Wano as well. Yet, do these flaws overall deter me from the enjoyment that I had reading Wano? Absolutely not. And despite those gripes, you can tell that Oda remains as authentic as when he first started. But one thing that I would love to point out is that Oda is unapologetic in his craft. And this is very evident in arguably one of the most hyped moments in Wano, Luffy's new awakening. Luffy's awakening literally gives him some of the most cartoonish abilities that we've ever seen in a mainstream manga ever. And for some reason, it absolutely works, and I loved it. And rather than using the edgelord style transformation that we've seen in a plethora of shonen, Oda kind of opted for something a little bit different and a fun take on the classic shonen transformation. Oda is truly a one-of-a-kind author and will remain that for the entirety of his legacy. But to conclude, the Wano arc was beautifully written in a plethora of aspects, yet did seem to fall short in certain aspects towards the end of his arc. Having an impressive first and second act, yet slightly faltering in execution on the final act, but nonetheless never ceasing to disengage me as a reader through and through. And this leads me to my final score from the Wano arc. And my score for Wano arc, I give it 8.8 out of 10. Now the reason I give it an 8.8 is because I didn't necessarily want to give it an 8.5, and I felt like it's not necessarily a 9, so right in the middle there, you know? You get me? Okay, cool. But what do you think Wano ranks amongst the other One Piece arcs? Let me know please in the comments down below. I would love to hear your opinion on what you think about Wano and where it ranks amongst arcs within One Piece. But also, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the Smoke Benji channel as well as the Geek Giant podcast channel. I will be making content consistently on both channels from here on out. But I love all of you guys. Thank you for all of the love and support. I promise you guys that from here on out, I'm going to be consistently trying to make content, and I hope that you follow me on this journey. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.